In the quiet town of La Porte, Indiana, a dark shadow hung over a lone farmhouse at the turn of the 20th century. The townsfolk might have seen it as just another piece of farmland, yet few could have imagined the horrors hidden beneath its soil. This was the property of Belle Gunness, a towering woman with striking strength and an intimidating presence. Known as a widow who had seen more tragedy than most, she was far from an innocent victim of circumstance. In fact, she was one of the most notorious female killers in American history. Born Brynhild Paulsdatter Storsett in Selbu, Norway in 1859, Belle's early life was marked by hardship and a tenacity to survive. Growing up in a poor farming family, she learned the value of resilience early on. As a young woman, she emigrated to the United States in 1881, joining the surge of Norwegians seeking new lives and opportunities in America. Determined to escape the poverty she had known in Norway, Belle was drawn to the possibilities of fortune, and she was willing to pursue it at any cost. After a brief stint in Chicago, Belle married her first husband, Mads Deitel Anton Sorensen. But Belle's domestic life was far from blissful. Her dreams of prosperity didn't align with the meager earnings Mads brought in, and it wasn't long before mysterious deaths began to surround her life. When Mads died unexpectedly on the one day his two life insurance policies overlapped, authorities initially ruled it as natural causes, but whispers of suspicion circulated. Belle collected a substantial payout, and for the first time, she tasted the rewards of death. Little did anyone realize this was just the beginning. Moving to La Porte, Indiana, she purchased a secluded farm with her newfound wealth, hoping to start fresh, but her murderous inclinations only grew stronger. Over time, the isolation of her land proved the perfect place for secrets to be buried both literally and figuratively. Belle's farm would come to be known as a murder factory, with countless men and even some children vanishing without a trace. But what drove Belle Gunness to kill? Some believed she was motivated by greed, others by a dark thrill that grew as she deceived, killed, and profited time after time. Whatever her reasons, Belle's story would become a cautionary tale of deception, manipulation, and terror. Belle Gunness, born in 1859 as Brynhild Paulsdatter Storsett, grew up in a small village in Norway. Life was difficult for her family, which struggled to survive in the harsh rural landscape. Known for her striking height and unusual physical strength, Belle's appearance and demeanor made her stand out. Ambitious and fiercely determined, she longed for more than the life her homeland offered. In her late teens, she suffered a traumatic incident that some say sparked her dark transformation, an alleged assault that left her unable to bear children. Local rumors suggested that her attacker later died under mysterious circumstances, fueling speculation that Belle was capable of vengeance. In 1881, she left Norway for Chicago, where she took on a new identity and future. The bustling American city was a land of opportunity, and Belle intended to seize it. She soon married a Norwegian immigrant, Mads Deitel Anton Sorensen, who worked as a watchmaker. Together they opened a small business, but financial troubles followed. The couple had difficulty maintaining stability, and despite Belle's hard work, their efforts did not pay off as she had hoped. Belle saw life insurance as a way out of their troubles. Over the years, she convinced Mads to take out multiple life insurance policies. Then, in 1900, tragedy struck when Mads died under suspicious circumstances. He passed away on the very day that both of his life insurance policies overlapped, ensuring Belle received a substantial payout. While Mads's family raised questions about his sudden death, the authorities ruled it as heart failure, possibly due to an illness. Belle claimed her windfall and decided to move away from the painful memories of Chicago. With her insurance money, she purchased a farm in La Porte, Indiana, a quiet and isolated area where she could start anew. The purchase of this farmhouse marked the beginning of a new chapter in Belle's life, one that would be written in blood. To outsiders, she appeared to be a hard-working widow, industrious and determined to make her farm a success. But beneath the veneer of respectability, Belle was harboring a dark and insatiable desire for wealth, no matter the cost. Her move to La Porte set the stage for a murder spree that would later make her infamous across the country. In La Porte, Belle Gunness set up her life as a respectable widow managing a farm on her own. To the townspeople, she was a strong-willed woman who embodied the rugged spirit of the Midwest. Over time, however, strange occurrences began to raise eyebrows. Several of her children from Chicago had already died under mysterious circumstances, and a baby boy named Philip also passed shortly after the move to La Porte. Each time, Belle collected insurance money, continuing to grow her wealth. Locals whispered about her tragic losses, unaware of the sinister pattern emerging beneath her grieving facade. Soon, Belle devised a cunning scheme that would allow her to accumulate even more wealth. She placed matrimonial advertisements in local newspapers, stating her desire for companionship and marriage. Her ad appealed to single men who sought companionship and were willing to bring some capital into the relationship. Men from all around the Midwest responded, eager to start a new life with the alluring widow on her farm. Belle's letters were seductive and persuasive, and many men traveled long distances to meet her, carrying their life savings. The men who arrived at Belle's farm never left. One by one, they were welcomed, seduced, and then killed. She would wait until nightfall, then strike her suitors in their sleep or poison them, robbing them of their belongings. To dispose of the bodies, Belle often dismembered her victims and buried them in shallow graves around her property. She worked alone and showed remarkable skill in concealing her crimes, meticulously scattering the remains so that no one would suspect the truth. Each murder brought her a fresh infusion of wealth. For several years, Belle continued her murderous spree without detection. Some men's families became suspicious when their loved ones disappeared, but Belle always had an explanation ready. Her suitors had chosen to leave after a short visit, deciding against settling down. But the truth was buried on her property alongside the bodies of those who had trusted her. Some victims had only just arrived at the farm when they met their end, while others had been lured by her promises of a happy future. In addition to her male victims, Belle may have even killed members of her household. Several of her children died under suspicious circumstances, and each time, Belle claimed the insurance money. Her adopted daughter, Jenny Olson, also vanished, only for neighbors to be told that she had left to attend a boarding school. Jenny's remains would later be found on Belle's property, suggesting that Belle's ruthlessness knew no boundaries. Belle's farmhand, Ray Lamphere, was perhaps the only person aware of her murderous activities. Ray was infatuated with her, and for a time, Belle used him to assist in the grueling labor of burying the bodies. However, Ray's jealousy and obsession with Belle eventually grew problematic. When Belle became romantically involved with a new suitor, Ray's jealousy turned to anger. Belle, seeing Ray as a liability, dismissed him from her farm, and their relationship soured. Ray's departure marked the beginning of the end for Belle's bloody enterprise. His vengeful outbursts and erratic behavior drew the attention of local authorities, who began keeping an eye on the Gunness farm. Belle, sensing that her empire was crumbling, took drastic action to avoid exposure. By 1908, Belle Gunness was beginning to feel the pressure of suspicion mounting around her. She knew that Ray Lamphere, her former lover and farmhand, posed a threat to her carefully guarded secrets. Rumors were circulating in La Porte about the mysterious disappearances linked to her farm, and Belle feared Ray might reveal everything if pushed to his limits. On April 28, 1908, Belle's farmhouse erupted in flames, consuming the building and all within. When the fire was finally extinguished, authorities found 3 bodies inside Belle's 3 children and the charred remains of an adult woman, which was presumed to be Belle. However, the body was decapitated, making identification difficult. Some believed Belle had staged her death and escaped, leaving behind the mystery and destruction. Ray Lamphere was immediately arrested as a suspect in the arson and alleged murder. He claimed he had not set the fire, insisting that Belle herself had planned to flee to avoid prosecution. During his trial, Ray's statements hinted at the sinister events that had occurred on the Gunness farm. He spoke of Belle's murders, her method of burying bodies, and her financial motives, shocking the public and validating the suspicions that had loomed over her. Following the fire, authorities launched a thorough investigation of the Gunness property. As they searched the grounds, they discovered dozens of shallow graves containing the remains of Belle's victims. The horrific findings stunned the community and captured national attention. Body parts were scattered throughout the property, and as the bodies were pieced together, it became evident that Belle had killed at least a dozen men who had answered her matrimonial ads. The tally of her victims rose as more graves were unearthed, and each discovery painted a clearer picture of the extent of her murderous operation. The gruesome revelations confirmed Belle's status as one of America's most prolific female serial killers. The story spread rapidly, drawing journalists, onlookers, and family members of the victims to the farm. But the biggest question remained unanswered: had Belle Gunness perished in the fire, or had she faked her death and escaped? To this day, no one can say for certain what became of Belle Gunness. While many believe she perished in the fire, others are convinced she successfully staged her death and disappeared. Over the years, reported sightings of Belle surfaced in various states, though none could be confirmed. Her headless corpse cast doubt on her supposed demise, fueling theories that she had escaped justice. Whether she died in the blaze or vanished into the shadows, Belle's fate remains a chilling mystery. The true end of the Butcher of La Porte may never be known. Belle Gunness's story endures as one of the most disturbing cases in American crime history. Her cold-blooded murders shocked a nation, and her legacy lives on as a warning about the dark depths of human greed and deceit. As one of the rare female serial killers, Belle challenged stereotypes and left a chilling mark on criminal history. Her brutal methods, cunning plans, and enigmatic end have cemented her as an enduring figure of horror and fascination. A deadly predator who defied the expectations of her era and whose memory haunts La Porte, Indiana, to this day.